This is video 25 of 101. This video is about dairy. Oh yay, we're gonna be talking about my favorite subject today, dairy, and how incredibly fucked up the dairy industry is. Before we talk about the industry, let's talk about dairy as a whole. Dairy, as we know it, is cow's milk and any of the byproducts from that, like ice cream, cheese, yogurt, and cream. Before we talk about the industry, dairy as a food group, we have been brought up to know that you need to be drinking dairy for strong bones and teeth. And dairy has lots of calcium in it that is going to help you grow up strong. That message is completely influenced by the dairy corporations who have lobbied with their millions and billions of dollars in power to have these messages, and those Got Milk and the Love Cheese campaigns, all of those out there were paid advertisements. Even the Canadian Food Guide has been influenced by these corporations. I know, how fucked up is that? That these things that we're teaching our children in schools, the thing is that has been so widespread to guide us on what's healthy, is being influenced by corporations with the interest of their bottom line. There is no logical nutritional benefit to dairy because any of the nutrients that you're getting from dairy, like calcium, you can find all of these nutrients in plant sources, and those sources are way better for your body to ingest because not only is there just the calcium, but there's tons of other vitamins and minerals and benefits to these plant sources. When dairy, maybe you're getting like a little bit of calcium, a little bit of protein, but you're also ingesting dairy. And as a core, what dairy is the lactation from a cow's udder to feed its calf that it's just birthed. I'm going to show you a clip from Cowspiracy right now, listening to a nutritionist talk about dairy.
Think anyone should be consuming dairy?
I really don't. When you think about it, the purpose of cow's milk, I did most of my growing up on a dairy farm in Wisconsin. The purpose of cow's milk is to turn a 65-pound calf into a 400-pound cow as rapidly as possible. Cow's milk is baby calf growth fluid. That's what this stuff is. Everything in that white liquid, the hormones, the lipids, the proteins, the sodium, the growth factors, the IGF, every one of those is meant to blow that calf up to a great big cow. Cow's milk is the lactation secretions of a large bovine mammal who just had a baby.
A cow will not lactate, just like any other mammal, unless it is pregnant. So for that cow to produce milk its whole life, it has to be kept pregnant its entire life. For that cow to get pregnant, it's not like it's not like a bull comes along and they go on a nice little date and then the bull takes him up to his apartment and then no. That bull is jacked off essentially from a human to get that semen, which is then inserted into the uterus of a cow with somebody's arm, and they're all usually hooked up to this thing that everyone likes to call a rape rack. I don't care what species you are, if someone is shoving their hand up your ass and up your uterus to impregnate you and you don't want that, that's rape. I don't care what species you are, that is rape. So we know dairy is fucked up. We don't need dairy. We don't need dairy. So how do we get around it? How do we continue on? Dairy, it's not the same thing as meat because meat is ingrained into our human species. Like, we evolved eating meat, but we didn't evolve milking cows and fermenting it into cheeses. Who knows why, but there was probably a cow grazing in someone's farm and maybe their calf died and they started to milk it to get rid of the excess lactation, and then they said, hey, why don't we try this? Maybe they tried it by accident. Who knows how it started, okay? But the fact is that we don't need it at all. And it's crazy because you go to the grocery store to buy milk and you see the milk there, and then you see right beside it all of the milk alternatives. It's not difficult, it's literally right there. There's now almond milk and rice milk and soy milk and coconut milk and hemp milk. There are so many other varieties. Dairy-free ice creams, dairy-free whipped creams, dairy-free yogurts, dairy-free cheeses. And in terms of cheese, I'm gonna make a specific note about this because I know everyone's like, oh, but it's not the same thing. The shredded cheese that's meant to be melted as in like a pizza thing is something that's not been perfected yet in a plant-based source. I can definitely agree to that. It's never been the same, but everything else, so the slices of cheese you put in your burger, any kind of mac and cheese, or any kind of hard cheeses for like cheese and crackers, all those cheeses have been made into plant-based sources and they are so delicious. I've never felt like, oh, this is like too whatever. The only thing is like some shredded cheeses, but that is getting better and better every single day. And the more people want it, the faster it's going to come out, and the faster we're going to get to a place where we have completely dairy-free dairy. And that would be incredible, because we don't need to have dairy. We don't need to have these cows being kept pregnant their entire lives, where at the end of their life they're just way too exhausted from being kept pregnant their entire life to even get up and do anything. They have to literally be lifted by cranes and carted off to the beef industry to be slaughtered. So if you're a vegetarian who's like, oh no, I don't support any kind of animal abuse, well, you really better cut out dairy, because there is so much animal abuse in there. Any dairy cow will then eventually just become a beef cow. Dairy is just as bad, if not even worse, than the actual beef industry. Because if you think about it, yeah, okay, the beef industry is pretty fucked up, where the cow its whole life is being kept in these tiny little things. But then imagine that cow is being kept in those tiny crates and it's also pregnant, which is such a beautiful stage in life when a creature is creating another creature. And so to have that just be almost abused, to have that be done over and over and over and over again until exhaustion, until death, until there's nothing else except a bulldozer that can pick up this fallen cow to take it off to die. We don't need that industry. We don't need that industry. There are so many alternatives. So many incredible alternatives to dairy. I challenge you, next time you go to the grocery store to buy milk or to buy any kind of dairy product, is to just find the alternative. Just take a minute, just take an extra minute or so and seek out what's probably just one shelf over and try out the alternative for a change. In your cooking or in your baking, just try out these alternatives. I guarantee that not only will they taste the same, they may even taste way better. Even beyond the fake dairy products, there are so many substitutes in baking for dairy products. Instead of using butter, you can use avocado or oil, like coconut oil. There are so many alternatives that are even healthier than dairy itself. So at the end of the day, dairy is something we don't need. The dairy industry is fucked up anyways. So next time you go to a grocery store, just pick up the goddamn almond milk.